Welcome to the Nairobi Health Show. I'm here with Tracy Pleschourt. Tracy, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about being here.
I'm excited to have you too, and we're going to have you absolutely change people's lives in 20 minutes. That's what we talked about before the show, and I know you can do it.
I can do that. Yeah.
That's our goal. Tracy is a life coach, and she has some very specific skills that she focuses on as well. Let me just read you her bio. She's the founder of Self-Made You, which is a great name, Tracy. I love that Self-Made You concept.
Thank you.
And she's the host of Secrets of the Self-Made podcast. She helps men and women create self-made wealth and wellness through life coaching. Tracy has mastered and now teaches the critical skills necessary to manage your mind and overcome any obstacle, including overeating, overdrinking, time management, career and relationship changes. There's much more to say about Tracy, but I think that's a great intro, Tracy. So thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I think that you and I have a lot of alignment going on. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, I feel like we do too, because all of these are things that I'm interested in. I read the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey when I was a young man, and it really affected my life. And it gave me this vision of a good life, including everything from our mental, social, emotional, physical, the entire spectrum of human experience. And that really broadened my thinking and made me start to look at these things. And I get the feeling that that's part of your MO.
Yeah, it is. And I think that the more we can be, the more expansive we can be when we think about our life, the better, the more abundant life is really going to be for us. Our experience is going to be more abundant. So, yeah, at Self-Made You, we're all about like mental health alongside of metabolic health, because we know that without one of those, you're not going to live an abundant, expansive life. So we kind of have these two silos that we play within, which affords us so many things to talk about. And but I would say that we really have an emphasis on those two parts of life. Parts of health is really mental and metabolic.
Right, right. And there's so much more. I mean, I am my health certification is with Precision Nutrition. I'm a fitness nutrition
Mhm.
certified coach, and I'm doing another certification right now with them that's brand new. It's called SSR, Sleep, Stress, and Recovery.
Mhm.
And they have come up with this concept called deep health, which takes those two components you talked about, mental and physical, and then adds onto it the critical importance of social dynamics, of metaphysical dynamics, our spiritual life, or our meaning. If you don't like the word spiritual, for those of you listening, is basically where we derive our meaning. And they have found from decades of coaching and of being the number one coaching certification on the planet that people can do all the right things physically, and they can eat right and have a great fitness program and still not lose weight, still not reach their goals, because these other factors are intrinsic to the problem. And it sounds like that is kind of what you do.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think when you think about how you show up, your behavior, right? You have to understand what is triggering your behavior. You have to understand how you are responsible for creating the experience that you're having. And so I not only like to teach people how to go about getting whatever goal that they want, whether it's a relationships goal or it's a physical like weight loss goal or it's a overcoming a challenge like over drinking. I not only want to help them achieve that, I want to show them, I want to teach them how they have created what it is that they're experiencing. Because I will tell you, if you don't do that, all you are to that person is like a talking head. And we know that you learn so much more effectively through application. So when somebody can see, like in black and white, how they are responsible, how they created the experience that they are currently having, they are so much more likely to be bought in on, oh, okay, so I could essentially just reverse architect that and create things that I maybe never thought possible. And that is truth. And so I not only like to, show them how they can overcome obstacles and how they can create things that they once thought impossible. I like to show them, how did you actually get the result that you're currently experiencing? And it all starts with a feeling. A feeling is what trips the trigger of behavior. And so that will make sense to people when you can show them in real time and apply it to their current experience, their current result. That's how you really kind of, get people bought in on change, is application.
Interesting. And that emotional thing, a lot of people, that's counterintuitive. They're like, no, I'm a very rational person. I make choices based on my brain. I'm very logical. We all feel that way. But it was really fascinating to me that Daniel Kahneman won a Nobel Prize for his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, where he proved that, he calls it the elephant and the rider, and that our emotions are the elephant and we're on top of that sucker. And they proved through science that emotions come first and then lead to decisions that we make that we then justify later. And we don't feel that process. That's why it's counterintuitive, right?
Exactly.
And I love that kind of thing. I like finding out things that seem counterintuitive or seem odd, but that, you can then use to level up your life. Now, are you operating on a certain coaching MO? Are you part of a program? Is there a certain path you're putting people on? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, so I'm certified through the Life Coach School, and they
Okay.
teach what they call the model. And so it's very focused on a circumstance that you're having a thought about, which triggers a feeling. So that is the way I learned this application, this methodology. And at Self Made You and through working with hundreds of students, I've learned even a better approach, a way to kind of refine that methodology, if you will, to help people move further along in the understanding of why they've created the results that they've created. It is very steeped in science, and I like to say basic math. So we call it the mind math formula. But the science behind it is, we all have that primitive brain that, is very reactive to any sort of unwanted feelings, right? If we're not being intentional, we create unintentional results through a primitive brain that actually has a purpose to keep us safe when we're in danger. And the truth of the matter is we're really not in danger all that often, but yet we react as if we are. And so I teach the science behind that. And what if you trip the trigger of your prefrontal cortex, what you can intentionally create. So yeah, the Life Coach School served me well in creating this methodology that I have refined a bit and went on to teach to all of my Self-Made You students who are really striving to become self-made. And I define that by taking responsibility for your unintentional as well as your intentional results.
Okay, so let's do this. There's thousands of people that will listen to this this recording, and not all of them are going to hire you. Hopefully, some people listen to this and go, "Hey, Self-Made You sounds really terrific. I'm going to contact Tracy, and we'll talk about how they can do that at the end." But first of all, let's talk to those people that aren't ready. They're not in a place for that. They just listening to this podcast to learn something new. You've been doing this a long time. Just talk to those people a minute with some of the top tips you've learned from your training that you think that most people could apply that would level up their life.
Yeah, I would say it goes back to emotions and having an awareness of what you're actually experiencing on an emotional level. I think so many people are, essentially they want to create something or they want to achieve something because they think they will feel something once they do. And one of the suggestions that I like to offer is that those feelings, whatever that feeling is that you're chasing, happiness, worthiness, successful, that's available to you right now. And you don't have to cross that finish line in order to feel that emotion. Emotions are created from within. They aren't externally given to you. So I would love for your audience just to consider that whatever it is that you're chasing is actually because you want to feel something that is available to you right now. And so if you can look at all of the circumstances, whether it's your weight, whether it's a relationship, whether it is, an event, you can ask yourself, like, what is it that I most desire in the context of that circumstance, and why? And I think if you keep asking the question, why, you'll really start to reveal that it's because you're in pursuit of a feeling. And then you ask yourself the
Yeah.
question, how can I create that feeling for myself right now? What is the belief that's within me that creates that feeling? And if it's not so easy to come up with in the context of, your circumstance, if the feeling is happiness that you're going after, ask yourself, and when in my life am I most happy? Come up with that circumstance and ask yourself why. Maybe it's when you're with family and you ask yourself, well, why is that? Because I feel so connected to them. Because I enjoy um, doing all the family things that we do together. I enjoy their sense of humor, right? Okay, those are all things that those are beliefs that reside within you that are creating that feeling. It's all available to you right now. You do not have to be in pursuit of it. And that, I think, is the misconception that we all operate our lives from, that we have to chase it, that there's some, mythical finish line out there. When in reality,
Right.
we only do things because we want to feel something, and that feeling is available to us right now.
Fantastic. And you specialize also in weight loss, and you use this same type of thing. I mean, in my coaching, we talk about the 5 whys. People say, well, I want to lose weight. And we say, well, great. Why? And people give an answer that's usually a superficial answer. Not that it's not important. When I say superficial, I don't mean that it's to disparage it. All I mean is it's at it's shallow in nature, and there are deeper whys. And we try to get to those 5 whys. You probably do something similar, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. But when someone comes to you, given what you've just said about trying to find the emotion they're trying to arrive at, but they've come to you saying, I want to lose 40 pounds. That's my major objective at the moment. How do you start them off?
Yeah. Well, you would want to get to the root cause. I think you're like, let's get that deeper reason why. So I always want to start with where they're at right now, the experience or the result that they're creating for themselves right now, so they can see what is the thought that they're operating from. Is it, I've never been able to lose weight? And how does that make you feel? Defeated? And then what are you behaving like? How are you showing up? So that way they can see that those types of behaviors, when all added up, create the result of the inability to lose weight. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where we would start.
Yeah. Didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry. But, and I've sold weight loss programs for 13 years. I mean, we started doing this in 2009, and not so much from your point of view, as much more just the basic physical, the supplements and the diet to get there. Right. And trying to give people as much as we can without a coach like yourself, just the information and ideas on how to achieve it. But one of the things I've noticed, Tracy, as I talk to people one-on-one about weight loss is there's many different backgrounds and frames, but there's 2 basic ones I see time and time again. And one is the mindset, I am a skinny person in a larger body, and I'm just going to get back to being skinny. I don't know how I got this way. I've gained 40 pounds over the last 8 years because I just wasn't paying attention. I'm just going to get back to my true self. Now, the other one that's more difficult is the person that feels like, I'm a large person. Everyone else around me is skinny, and I don't know how they get skinny. I've always been big, and I'm a big person and I want to get skinny. And that mindset is much more difficult.
Where I would start with that person is, why is that a problem? And is that a primitive brain thought, or is that a prodigy brain thought? The primitive brain thought is very fear-based. It's telling you that being a bigger person is problematic. It's not even defining what big is, right? It's not at all steeped in data. It's steeped in drama. So the way I would go about that is asking them first and foremost, like, why is that a problem? In what ways are you big, and in what ways are you not big? Let's like really peel back the layers of the onion so that you can see that that is a very reactive, dramatic thought coming from your primitive brain. That is, it has a purpose, but you're not in any danger. So let's trip the trigger of your prefrontal cortex and let's get to the facts, which is going to strip away all the drama, and it's going to help you respond in a way that gets you the results that you're looking for.
Okay, so basically, obviously you're starting with a person's goal. They're coming to you. They're saying, "Okay, Tracy, these are the ways I want to improve my life," and then you're trying to just dig in and help them. First of all, figure out what they really want. It's interesting. I was listening to oh my gosh, his name. There's a English philosopher. It'll come to me. But he does
while you're sleeping.
Yeah. He's this lecturer who studied philosophy and religion, and he's an expert in Christianity, the Tao, and Buddhism. Alan Watts. Have you heard of him?
I have heard of him.
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy to listen to if you like these big, questions of life, the universe, and everything. And one of his comments that really struck me one time is he said, "Ask people what they want, and they don't know." I thought, that's interesting. And I thought, what do I want? And I realized I didn't have a ready answer. Like sometimes I do. Sometimes in my life, I'm very focused. And I go through periods of time where I know just what I want. And if someone says, "Dave, what do you want?" And I can just go boom, boom, boom. And other times, if someone said, "What do you want?" I'd be like, I don't know. Peace, love, happiness, and money. I don't know. You know what I mean? You just don't have anything specific.
Yeah. And I think for me, if I find myself judging, like the fact that I couldn't answer that question, quickly, I know that the tendency is to kind of judge myself. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I want. Come on,
Okay.
I could do better, right? Well, let's context it. Like let's talk about, in what circumstance, right? What do I want professionally? What do I want personally? What do I want from my body? Like, what do I want from my relationships? So asking yourself those kinds of questions is so valuable. You learn so much about yourself, which results in acceptance, self-acceptance, which creates a sense of happiness, which I would say most of us are in pursuit of. So I think that, that question being thrown out there is so valuable because it really creates a pause. It creates you asking yourself certain questions. Without that question, without the pause, you would never learn anything about yourself. So it's beautiful on a couple different levels, right? It stopped you. It got you thinking. You might even notice how your tendency to judge yourself for not knowing the answer right off the bat, but is actually perfect. It's perfect because now you have contrast. Now you have paused. Now you've recognized that there are so many answers to that question, and you're a better person for it. Now that you have that awareness, you accept yourself more and hopefully have a wanted feeling come from that.
Interesting. Yeah, it was powerful for me to go through that. But I like how you gave that kind of correction that I felt right there, where you're saying, yeah, but it's also just making you kind of self-judgy, which is not necessarily helpful either. So I like that you caught that, because I hadn't even thought about that, right? So that was interesting reaction that I had to the question.
Right. And that's just a primitive brain move is to be very judgmental. So if you can catch that and you can notice how it's unlikely to serve you in your goals, we are all very critical, very judgy when it comes to weight. I know that to be true because I too have a weight loss program, and most of the women and men who come into it, they have a lot of judgment on themselves, on their ability to lose weight, in the past, currently, and potentially in the future. And so if we can just show them the science behind why that judgment is even there and how it's actually really beneficial, because it actually shows you contrast, but it's ineffective to actually use it against yourself. So if we can heighten the awareness around why it's there in the first place, it will strip away a lot of that judgment, which is not helpful. When you're feeling judged, whether it's from yourself or it's from others, just think about, how do you show up?
Interesting.
You're very shut down. You want to hide. You're closed-minded, right? You're fearful. Yeah. Those are the emotions that do not support behaviors that are going to get you closer to your goals.
Right. Excellent. And so you have people that come to you. It sounds like quite a few come for weight loss, and others come to be more successful financially. Are those the two major objectives you help people with?
Yeah. So we have, like I said, two kind of silos or two main focuses. And I would say it is, weight or health and vitality, and a strong emphasis on metabolic health. And we have a lot of people coming through our doors for that. And then we have another offer that supports mental health and goal achievement. And so interestingly enough, one often leads to the other. So the person who came in and wanted to lose weight and achieve metabolic health, they go on to really focus on their mental health and achieving their goals. And I love that, because we can take all of the principles and apply it to goals that they never even considered before coming through our door.
Interesting. And from that, on the monetary side, we've talked quite a bit about health so far on the podcast, but financially, what do you say are some of the top obstacles that people put in their own way, so to speak, when it comes to being financially successful?
Yeah, I think having this, operating from a belief that it's not enough, and that very easily lends itself to, health and wellness, as, in the same context. If you believe it's not enough, you will see that show up in all areas of your life: personal, professional, spiritual, relationships. But we see it most of all in the financial part of people's lives. It's not enough, which makes you feel, it might sound very innocent, because you might say, well, that's the overachiever. That's the motivated person that's out there always creating something new. I would argue that belief of it's not enough creates scarcity. It creates a feeling of lack, and you are not going to show up behaving in such a way that creates abundance, that creates sustainable income generation. So we want to reveal that. Again, I would go back to, what is it that you are creating for yourself currently? What's the belief that you're operating from? How's that making you feel? Let's get real clear on how you show up, therefore creating the result that you have. Once they see that, I could start to kind of poke holes in what is enough. Ask them the question, like the same question that you presented earlier, right? Like, what is it that you want? I would present the question of what's enough. Let's define that, right? And then we can start to create, okay, what is enough and how do we operate from that as a result that we want to create? Get real clear on it, and then let's create the playbook. And the playbook is not going to be a list of actions with check boxes next to it. The playbook is going to start with the belief you're operating from and the feeling that belief generates, because that is what's going to check the boxes.
And yet can be difficult to do. I have a life coach and I have a health coach, and I meet with my health coach weekly and my life coach as needed. And and it changed my life. I mean, I started off with her with a block of sessions,
Yeah.
and then went to what she calls a la carte, which is just kind of right now it's like every 10 days, like 3 times a month, something like that. And it's been fantastic because, Tracy, one thing I learned is I don't know what I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes when I am talking to one of my coaches about my goals or what I'm trying to do, they notice things in my language, as you did, that I don't pick up. They're not, it's me. I'm used to me. I'm used to how I think. I'm used to how I operate. And I just need somebody else
Yeah.
to run my ideas by and to help me and to ask those tough questions that I would never figure out on my own. So I'm a huge fan of the entire concept of coaching. And I think there's people listening that maybe after listening to you are starting to see why.
Yeah.
So how do people learn more about what you're doing and talk to you about potential, having you or someone on your team be a coach? You have other coaches, I think, right?
Actually, I'm the only coach at Self-Made You, and then we actually have a clinical psychologist as well. So
Okay.
she gives referrals. We start off with a mental health assessment, just because we know that anxiety and stress and overwhelm, things like that, can be barriers to some of the basic concepts that we teach. So, but I'm the only coach, right, as of right now. But you can learn more about what we offer at selfmadeyou.com. And we have that mind math formula with the lists of exactly the step-by-step instructions of how to use it. And I think that is so valuable to anybody who really wants to understand how and why they are experiencing what it is that they're experiencing, and how and why they can go on to create things that they never thought possible. And that's totally free. That's on our website. We also have little pop quizzes that reveal some of your superpowers and then how to use those superpowers to achieve some of the results that you most desire. So lots of free resources on the selfmadeyou.com website.
Self-Made You, and that's the letter U, not YOU.
Right.
And for those of you listening, that's probably motivating to you to know that you are listening to Tracy and she's the one you would be working with. So if you like what you hear from Tracy, she could be your coach at selfmadeyou.com. Tracy, anything you want to add before I let you go?
I would just offer, because Dave, you had said, it takes a coach to help me realize things that I don't even know I'm saying. And I would just offer that is so human of you, right? I too have a coach that helps me see my own mind, that helps me hear things that I don't even realize I'm saying. And so that does not mean anything about you. If you notice that you're starting to make that mean something about you, I would offer that you are human and we all have our blind spots. But if you're living in a way that you want to optimize your life, a coach is a great way to do that. And so my goal as a coach is to equip you to learn how to self-coach, but that doesn't mean that, there isn't an opportunity to check your work. So again, I just want to kind of point out, as humans, we have a tendency to judge. We're like the judgy wudgies out there. And just know that that's quite human of you.
Yeah, I love that. And like I say, it's really true. I don't think I could be doing the things I'm doing now. And I feel like I achieve more and I do better. For one thing, just the basic accountability. I meet with my coach Meredith this afternoon, for example. So all week I've been making sure I'm doing my homework. I'm reading the book. I'm doing the stuff I'm supposed to be doing. And so just the fact that I have someone else to report to has been valuable. But then the fact that she's giving me stuff based on what she hears from me and what my goals are that I wouldn't have found by myself. She sent me in directions that, like, for example, I have an Audible subscription and I have stuff I want to listen to. And there's way more supply than I can ever consume. But by having a coach, she's often having me get something out of that massive library that she feels like I need that I wouldn't have found by myself. And that might sound like a small thing, but all these things added up as I get book ideas, goal ideas, course corrections on ways I'm thinking and how I'm explaining things, all that stuff. It's all stuff I couldn't do by myself. So Tracy, I'm a big fan of what you're doing.
Thank you.
And for those people listening, contact Tracy at selfmadeyou.com. And Tracy, thanks so much for taking the time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
For me too. And for those of you listening, this is Dave Sherwin wishing you health and success.